Hey guys, welcome back to another devlog for Infernomon. Infernomon is a solo game dev project that I'm working on part-time as a hobby. In the game, you'll collect a variety of different Infernomon, and you will take those Infernomon into dungeons where you'll battle against other Infernomon, and once you defeat those dungeons, you will be rewarded with a bunch of powerful loot that can be equipped on either your player or your Infernomon. You will also attend school at a magical castle where you'll learn a bunch of different skills and abilities that you can then take into battle to make you even stronger. In today's video, I experimented a little bit with an AI tool called Stable Diffusion. In Stable Diffusion, you can provide your art as input and it'll spit out more beautiful art as output. If you're interested in that, you can go ahead and fast forward to this timestamp. Otherwise, we'll just go forward with the regular devlog. So last video, we left off after completing the Infernomon inventory hovers. So in the inventory screen, when you hover over an Infernomon, or if you hover over a role slot, it'll display a little bit more information. The next thing I want to work on is the individual Infernomon page. So this page gets displayed when you click on an Infernomon in the inventory. Right now it just displays a blank page. So I want to start fleshing this page out, and so I first started off by designing a wireframe. I wanted this page to be similar to the Infernomon hover, but provide additional information and functionality, such as clicking a button to level up your Infernomon, edit your Infernomon's item, which I'm calling pendants, edit your attack, and so forth. So this is the sketch I came up with. I'll talk more about the details of this page later on in the video, but at least for now I think I'm good to get to work on actually building the page. So I've worked on this for about 4 days now, and when I say 4 days, that really means like 4 to 6 hours because I only work on this game for about an hour or hour and a half before work every day. Anyways, this is where we are so far. Definitely not done yet, but we have all the information on the top of the section at least displaying now. On the left, we have the Infernomon number, the Infernomon name, the Infernomon spellbook link, and the achievements link to the Infernomon mastery page. Right now this page is just blank, but I will be fleshing that out later on in the future. So this button right here, when you click it, it'll take you for the recipe for whatever Infernomon is showing. So in this case, it would take you to the recipe for conjuring a Venonid. We also have the Infernomon portrait, the elemental types, the role, and the attack style of the Infernomon. In the next section, we are displaying the Infernomon attacks. I will be adding hovers to the attacks later on that will show their damage, type, effects, and so forth. I'll also add an edit button next to this acquired attack here. The acquired attacks are the only attacks that you're going to be allowed to change in the game. All 3 other attacks are going to be static and unchangeable. The next section we have is the stat totals. These stats are thrown into a calculation that looks at the Infernomon's level, their individual stats, the stats from their pendant, and also the base stats of the Infernomon, and then dumps that out in a total, which is what you're seeing here in the total stats. The next section is the individual stats. These values are unchangeable and are assigned when the Infernomon is conjured and are just randomly assigned. And then next we have the pendant section. Pendants are items that drop after defeating a dungeon. They come with a random set of stats, a unique buff. So for example, this item here is a reflective shell that will reflect damage back to attackers. I'll have probably 8 or 9 different pendant types in the game. I'll also eventually add a hover here for the pendant that has a description, and then I'll eventually add a edit button here as well where you can swap out the pendant that the Infernomon is holding for a different pendant. So the next thing I'll start working on is displaying the dungeon scores. In my game, there will be 9 different dungeons you can battle in. On the bottom of the Infernomon page, I want to have 9 different images for each of the different dungeons. In a game I play called Warcraft Rumble, they too have a concept of dungeons, and they have this icon here that represents their dungeons. I thought this art style was pretty cool and I want to do something similar, but since my art skills suck, I figured I'd throw 9 quick dungeon entrance drawings together and then use AI to enhance the images. I've experimented with this a bit before, so while all the Infernomon designs are designs I paid an artist to make, based off of a description I provided. The attacks I have added to the game so far have been drawn by me, but have been enhanced by AI. The way I did this was first draw the image myself and get it as close to something recognizable as I can. I then load that into an AI tool called Stable Diffusion. In Stable Diffusion, it provides you a description input field as well as some sliders that let you tell the AI how close you'd like the algorithm to adhere to either the description or the input image. You can also tell it to output a certain amount of images as well as a certain resolution. And so after you've set all that, you can go ahead and run the program. I then look through these images and pick the one I like the most. Sometimes it does some weird things and you need to rerun the program again to get a better random set of results. Or you can also go back and tweak with the description or also the sliders until you get a result that you like. Now, I'm still undecided whether or not I want to keep AI designs in the game or whether I want to just use them as placeholders until I make time to make all the art myself or pay somebody else to do the art. There's a lot of discussion going on out online about whether using AI art in your games is legal, or if it's ethical, or if it's just lazy and takes away creativity. So to address the first question of whether or not it's legal, I decided to Google search, can Stable Diffusion art be used commercially? And the quick answer seemed to be yes. I also plan to release the game on Steam, so I googled, can AI art be used for Steam games? And it seems like they also allow it as long as you protect against certain risks. I'm no lawyer, but it seems, according to my very advanced Google skills, that legally I think I should be in the clear. So then to address the next question, is it ethical or is it just pure evil? Now this one is interesting to me because I understand that this could negatively affect artists out there that put their blood, sweat, and tears into their work and are now potentially in a position where AI is competing for their jobs. But then hasn't this kind of always been the case in almost any field where you work, where technology advances and replaces your job? Is this just inevitable? Should I feel bad? If the art in Stable Diffusion uses open source art, then is using it commercially bad? And if other companies are already using AI, does that make it an even better argument for why I should be using AI as a solo game developer? Or would the right thing to do be to do the art myself, which would increase the amount of time it takes to make my game by a significant margin, but then I can comfortably say that zero AI art was used in making my game, which would actually be really cool and would be something I'd be very proud of. So those are just a few thoughts I had. If anyone has an opinion, feel free to share it in the comments. So anyway, here's all the attacks I've drawn and run through the AI so far. This is probably only about 20% of the attacks that will be in the game. I think it makes them look a little bit better. It won't be super noticeable in my game because these icons are generally pretty small. Now here's what I did with all the dungeon icons. I drew all these on my iPad in Procreate first and then ran them through the AI, which I think did okay at enhancing them as well. Now if we go back to my game, this is the updated page with all the new dungeon icons. We're now displaying all 9 dungeons. Below each dungeon there are 2 numbers. The top number is the specific Infernomon dungeon score, and then the bottom number in parentheses is the highest score across the Infernomon species. So for example, if you look at all the different Venonid in my game and find the one with the highest dungeon score, that's what this bottom score would be. Then at the bottom you have the total score, which is what you get when you add all the individual dungeon scores together. So I may replace these icons with non-AI generated icons in the future. So for now they can just be a placeholder at least. As you probably already noticed, but I've added in the stone and wood backgrounds. These I just did in an app called Paint.net on my computer. I waited until I had all the different sections displayed on the front end before I actually started doing the background art. Then by that point I had a good idea of how large I needed to make these little slots in the wood. The next thing I want to start working on is Infernomon evolutions, so I'll start working on that now and update you in a bit. Okay, so we now have evolutions partially working. On the individual Infernomon page, we now have this evolve button. So this button gets displayed once an Infernomon has reached the level requirement at which it can evolve. So you can see this Venom is level 34. He only needs to be level 16, I believe, to evolve. And so when you click this button, it jumps to another screen. I programmatically added an evolution animation that uses a function in GameMaker Studio 2 called GPU set fog, which covers the things you draw in whatever color you specify, and in my case white. Then on a timer that gets faster and faster, I altered back and forth between evolving the Infernomon and the Infernomon it's evolving into by increasing and decreasing the alpha property on the sprite. I also added this cancel button here, so if you don't want to evolve the Infernomon, you can just click cancel and it'll stop it. Eventually I'll have it so once the evolution completes, that it'll display the before stats and the after stats of the Infernomon, and then I'll swap out this cancel button for like a continue button or something like that. But right now the evolution isn't actually saving, as you can obviously see. It just goes back to this Venonid page, so I need to update it so that the evolution is actually permanent. So that's all we have today. So up next, I'll start working on the attack hover. So when you hover over one of the attacks, a description starts displaying. You'll also have the ability to edit the acquired attack on an Infernomon. And then I'm also going to squish the experience bar to be a little bit smaller because I forgot to actually put the rarity of the Infernomon on the Infernomon section. I'm also going to be working on adding the ability to edit the pendant on an Infernomon. And then of course I need to finish up the Infernomon evolution. So thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you in the next video.